I didn't realize that this is the first review for Hinomaru Zumou. So this is actually part one. This is post recording, by the way. Um, but yeah, Hinomaru Zumou is great. Caught up to it, and Black Lagoon is definitely next for the review. So be on the lookout for that. I don't know why I thought I recorded this review before, but I think it was during the time before I made the list and decided, yeah, I'm gonna start reviewing manga. So well, here's my review for Hinomaru Zumou, guys. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Unversed podcast. Danny here, and today I thought I'm gonna change it up. As you guys may have noticed, there hasn't been a manga review in a while. There's just been so much going on, conventions. Not gonna lie, Fortnite, and just other stuff for the podcast. Man, I'm barely watching Megalobox, and that just ended not too long ago. So I'm pretty far behind on a lot of things. It's safe to say. But I decided before I finish Black Lagoon, because I did get some new equipment and my old stuff's not really running as great as it could be, so I figured it's time to grab some new stuff. I will finish reading and catching up to stuff that's on my old equipment, so that means I've been reading backlogs of mangas that I've read before and reviewed before on the show, and catching up to it. Now, the biggest hurdle for me was Hinomaru Zumou. If you guys remember, I reviewed that like a while ago. I forget which number it is at this point, but I reviewed that, and I just haven't kept up on it, sadly. If you don't remember what it is, it's a sumo manga. Sports from Shonen Jump. It's in Weekly Shonen Jump. You could probably say it's a pillar. It had potential to be a pillar. But I thought, you know what? Let me do a part two, because I read like over 100 chapters, and there's a lot to discuss that I didn't initially say. I didn't re-listen to the review I did, so there might be some repetition. So apologies for that. But yeah, let's get into it. So, first thing first, I still love this manga very much. And the main reason is it's still like a sports manga, dude. It is something that is entertaining and hilarious at the same time. Like, the main reason I like Keijo so much is because of how hilarious the exaggeration gets for the sports stuff, right? Like, that's the big thing for me is the over the top stuff that they do in sports. That's why I love Slam Dunk. Well, Slam Dunk's more realism, but Hajime no Ippo, Kuroko no Basket had that ridiculousness. Keijo, Ice Shield 21, the list goes on, and it's no different here in Hinomaru Zumou. It's great stuff, honestly. The art style too. That's the crazy thing about sports mangas, is they always manage to get an artist, or if the writer is the artist, they're just amazing at their art. Hinomaru Zumou at times is just same face for most of the characters. You definitely need hair to differentiate to make them look different, right? But here, like when they have their battles, their matches, like in the intense artwork is just so good. I don't know how many screenshots I've took from catching up. It's just that great. And of course, some of the titles are just so ridiculous with the names. You can't help but love it. So I read like over 100 chapters, and the manga definitely is on the trail of a classic sports manga. You have your tournaments, you have this team that's built from nothing, but through everybody's persistence, their training, their mentality of never giving up, they overcome the obstacles that they see. And it's really intense, and it's very similar, I think, to... It takes pulls from, I think, Slam Dunk. It takes pulls from Hajime no Ippo for sure. I mean, the main character, Hinomaru, he's just a sumo version of Ippo. Short stature. People didn't think he was going to make it, but he's just this overpowered machine, and he's not great with the females that I saw in a recent chapter. And the thing with Slam Dunk, too, it's like the bonds that these characters build over each other, and we do get a glimpse of that in this manga. That's the one weakness I think for Hinomaru Zumou is there was points in catching up where it was just focused purely on the sumo, right? And it's not, there's no faults at that, but I think some of the best stuff out of sports mangas besides the battles are the relationships that get built, the trustworthiness, the friendships, everything that comes out of it. That's why I love Slam Dunk so much, rather than that being a basketball manga. Just the writing and the character development in there is just amazing. And there's some of that here and there for sure. And at one point right now, like right when I just finished catching up on my old stuff, it almost felt like it came out of nowhere, because there was a lot of chapters in a row where I was like, oh, so this is just what it's going to be from now on. Just nonstop sumo, the occasional conversations before matches, during matches, and all that. But, there's still a little downtime and all that. So kudos for them. Like, just they need to work on the pacing more for Hinomaru Zumou, I think, as far as it being a sports manga, But I will say this. It is a sports manga, which a high school sports manga, might I add. And we all know how high school sports mangas end. They all usually end at a tournament. The team disbands because everybody's not from the same year. And we actually got to that point. We hit this tournament. Like, this is the big tournament. This is the make it or break it for these characters, Is Hinomaru going to go pro? Are these guys going to get some kind of reward for their years of hard work? The captain mainly, because he's been dreaming of this his whole high school life, and this is the only opportunity he can get for it. And as we're reading it, I was like, yeah, man, this is so intense, man. This is great. This reminds me a lot of the stuff I loved in all the other sports mangas I read. And then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute, what chapter is this? I still have 20 plus to catch up, and it's still ongoing. Are we actually going to do what I think we're going to do? Tournament's over. Everybody gets their farewells, their wishes, and the manga is not over. Part 2, Professional Sumo Arc, enter. Whoa. This, I think, is a first for sports mangas, right? At least from the ones I've read. They've always stopped at the school level. And even just sports manga aside, when there's a high school element involved, it never usually progresses anywhere further. The only time it went was it's from Weekly Shonen Magazine. Yankee-kun. Yeah, just Yankee-kun is like the short term that we say on the show. But it's like Yankee-kun and something else, Delinquent and a Girl with Glasses. I just forget the Japanese name for glasses. But yeah, so that was a high school manga. And I felt like it was going to end at high school, but then they decided, okay, no, we'll go with college and see where that goes. But it ended at the first year of college because, I think, especially for Hinomaru Zumou, things change drastically from high school to college when it comes to manga. Because in high school, you get to do a bunch of crazy stuff. Because, they're kids. You get to have the wild hairstyles and these ridiculous techniques, I think the perfect example for that kind of is Medaka Box. Medaka Box, if you haven't read, go read it. But geez, it's like these full-on shonen anime fights, DBZ level kind of stuff. And then the epilogue is a flash forward to I think 10 years for their high school reunion. And yeah, can you believe we just made all that up? We actually didn't get to do any of that. And it's like, oh yeah, because they're high schoolers, there's no limit basically. That's why I think high school is the perfect genre for shonen or a subgenre for shonen, because you just could do all this ridiculousness. If Kuroko no Basket continued, right? Kuroko and everybody else went into the NBA or something, and we get to see them do the ridiculous stuff, I don't know how I would feel about that, because that's a league, that's a bunch of different stuff. And here in Hinomaru Zumou, we see all these characters with their uniqueness, with their hairstyles, their ferocity, techniques that are over the top, enter the professional stage. And for the most part of the manga prior to this, every adult sumo wrestler just had same face. And it's, yeah, to me, I think that reflects on like that kind of world where it's just like it's dog eat dog. Like, it doesn't matter how special you are, like either you win or you don't. So that's why everybody has same face and stuff. And now that they're professional sumo wrestlers, they lose their radical hairstyles. It has to be slicked down and all that stuff, regulation and whatnot. So in a sense, you lose that sort of flair. And they're still putting up the techniques, which is kind of crazy, and I'm all right with it overall, but I think you typically don't see this happen with a sports manga where it's like, okay, these high schoolers are now professionals and they're still doing this high school stuff. To me, that feels off. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm fine with it. I'm still going to read it. The story's still compelling and all that. And those were just my main core thoughts about Hinomaru Zumou. We get, it's just like Ippo. There's like, well, there has to be at least one kind of love. Oh gosh, I'm a little tired, guys. I'm sorry. Love interest for the main character, and it's not necessarily forced, but I mean, it was one-sided. And we got hints of it, and we only got one confirmation, I would say like maybe two confirmations for it, and that was about it. I mean, other than that, it was like, whatever. And then now that we're like, oh, okay, I guess we're in this. Just keeping it vague for spoiler's sake, I think it's whatever, for the most part, with Hinomaru and this love interest that we get. But I'll say, man, this manga definitely brings some good waifus. And it's, it kind of sucks because I think, one, it's sumo, and two, it's a sports manga. I think it is underrated. I never hear a lot or see a lot of content from Hinomaru Zumou. And that's why I got disappointed the other day too, which is another thing that made me want to come back to this manga, is Jump Force is coming out, 2019, right? The 50th anniversary of Shonen Jump, and of course they're like, okay, well, we have to make a new game, so we're throwing all these characters in there. I was like, oh, dude, how sick would it be to see the boy Hinomaru show up in this game? That would be sick, And then the announcement said, well, we're not really going to add sports characters in here. And I was like, damn, because sure, he's a sports character, but you know what? It's essentially a fighting manga if you think about it. Like when those bouts happen, it's just as ridiculous as what you would expect. So, oh boy, that kind of bums me out because I would love to see Hinomaru in that kind of action, or a sumo game even. How interesting would that be? But overall, yeah, I still recommend Hinomaru Zumou. The art's great when it gets serious, and even the casual art, it has a nice charm to it. Especially now that everybody's grown up, they all have this more sumo-looking shape, and rounder and all that kind of stuff. But of course, like when it gets serious, oh my gosh! I mean, just look at the thumbnail for this episode. I'm probably gonna pick a really good one, and sure, it's a long read. There is a lot of dialogue, as you would typically find in a sports manga. But yeah, I'm sticking around for it, man, and I think you guys should too once you check it out. Especially because, like, man, it's sumo. Like, I don't think anybody's done sumo before. Not in like the recent years of manga. And I read a lot of manga, as you guys know. So yeah, just glad that this is still going. Interesting to say because, in a sense, I still do think this is new territory for sports mangas, because if you don't already start in the professional sense of it, entering it once we've witnessed all the high school stuff, I think is interesting. And sure, like even the adults can have some intense scenes sometimes, maybe a couple ridiculous moves, but it's mainly just the high school students just doing ridiculousness. And yeah, that's I don't know. At the end of the day, would I have loved to read Slam Dunk if they entered the professional world? I think possibly, because Slam Dunk, that's a different case. But Kuroko no Basket, nah, I'm okay. I Shield 21, I'm not really okay with either because, again, it does change the game up. Like, not the sport, but, like, the game of how to present this manga. You know, even, like, when they fought, like, American high school students in Ice Shield 21, like, they're not, like, I don't expect these American high school football players to pull off all these ridiculous moves with these, like, shining star blaster wave or whatever the heck you want to call it. You know, like, shining counter enhance, like, all that kind of crazy stuff. You just don't expect it because it's like, well, that's just not how I think of it. So, a little conflicted, but I'm still going strong. I do want to see how this turns out at the end of the day. And you guys should too. And that's all I have to say for my part 2 of Hinomaru Zumou. I normally don't do this kind of stuff, but I thought, you know what? I've read enough, and I feel like I need to put these thoughts out. So here we are. And who knows? Like, I don't know. I'm not really backed up on a lot of other manga, so if I am on stuff I already reviewed, then I'll come back and give my thoughts on there. But while we wait for those episodes or future reviews, because I will be getting into Black Lagoon soon once I catch up to everything, you can follow us on social media at Unversed Podcast if you want to stay caught up. And, of course, you can email us at unversedpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns. What are your guys' thoughts on sports mangas? Should they continue once high school ends? Let us know, and we'll talk about it on the next episode. And, as always, we will talk to you next time.
ジャックが仲間になった。